What's up guys, it's Justin here, and today I've got a my experience video of the LG V20. I was a pretty big fan of LG's 2015 lineup, which consisted of the LG G4 and the LG V10, but for those who might have watched my review, I was thoroughly disappointed with this year's flagship, the LG G5. Although this phone did come out a few months ago and I'm very late to this video, I still want to bring you a my experience, kind of just overlying the major features of the phone that make it great in my opinion, as I've had it for about a month now and finally got around to bringing you this video after all of the holiday season craziness. The LG V20 is built very nicely with the aluminum plate being removable so you can access your battery, and the phone itself is rather large, coming at about 6.29 inches in height and 3 inches wide, which is about the same as the iPhone 7 Plus. The design for the most part is much reminiscent of the LG G5 with exception to the lack of modular design, which I'm actually pretty happy to see. I would almost describe the V line of LG phones to be their experimental or power user line that has features that you won't exactly find on your flagship, and many people are saying that the V20 should have been the LG G5. Of course, if you're not a fan of your two color options or don't want a scratchy aluminum plate, you can also pick up a D-brand skin as you can see here, and I'll leave a link to that in the description section below. The LG V20 is considered a pretty large phone with a 2560 by 1440 display, bringing you a PPI of 513. Being someone who has gotten used to the iPhone 7 Plus for the past few months, I would still consider it a very large phone for some, but for me, I've actually gotten quite used to it and enjoy the size. The display is sharp and vibrant, but it does lean towards a cooler tone, which is not customizable in the settings. The 2.1-inch secondary display first found on the V10 is back on the V20, and that comes in at a resolution of 1040 by 160. The design is definitely one of the strengths of this phone, but the only complaint I really have is that the button located on the back is sometimes hard to reach due to the nature and size of this phone. Perhaps the best trait of this phone though is the audio focus once again. This is something that companies often leave out in smartphones in order to cut costs, but there is still a niche out there that demands this type of technology. This phone has a quad DAC and more specifically an ES9218 made by ESS Technologies. This concept could be a video of its own, but I'm not going to bore you guys as I'm not an audiophile either, but from a consumer perspective, all you have to know is that it takes a digital audio signal and converts it into an analog signal, which gives you a cleaner listening experience through headphones. The LG V20 will determine what it needs in terms of power and only utilize specific number of units in order to save the battery life. It is crazy that they were able to fit a quad DAC within a smartphone, and the only other phones that have a dedicated DAC within is the HTC 10 and the Axon 7. I would really consider myself nothing more than an average consumer when it comes to audio, and I actually noticed a pretty substantial difference when compared to a smartphone without a DAC. The sound delivered to my headphones was evidently cleaner and fuller, but when you compare it to the DAC on the LG V10, I won't say that the difference is substantial. When it comes to experimental technologies including dual displays in phones and edge-to-edge display like what Xiaomi did, you always have to look beyond the cool factor and weigh the inconveniences with the actual benefits in the user's experience that the new concept brings. The reason why I like the secondary display is that it doesn't get in the way or anything of what you're normally trying to do on the primary display, and it makes up for the excess space in glass that would normally just be to space out the front-facing camera. Due to its very minimal display options, LG has made it so that it doesn't hog the battery, which is very important, and the main focus of the secondary display is quick toggle settings and shortcuts. Settings that would normally have to be toggled from the notification tab can be changed in just one touch with the secondary display, and I can also add my most used apps to the shortcuts as well, which I really enjoy. This mostly goes back to software, but the thing is, there isn't any major new features or advances in terms of the software that allows you to make the most of the secondary display. For the most part, everything that I was able to do on this phone, I was able to do before on the V10. So it would have been nice to have further customizability and consistency in the functionality of this display so that it doesn't feel forgotten in a way. But with that being said, it is a great feature to have, but you can definitely live without it. From a hardware standpoint, we've seen that the LG V20 really does exceed the expectations of even a flagship phone at this day and age. You have a Snapdragon 820 processor paired with 4 gigs of RAM, a 5.7-inch Quad HD display, and a 16-megapixel dual camera setup with 4K video, but you also have a built-in DAC that you don't find on most phones. But one of the things I dislike the most about this phone is the software experience. It uses LG's 5.0 UX on top of Android 7.0 Nougat. Other manufacturers such as Samsung has really improved TouchWiz in my opinion, and with HTC teaming up with Google to improve the user experience, that was something that I really enjoyed and appreciated. I still feel like LG's trying to do their own thing, however, and you will find a lot of pre-installed apps built into the phone when you receive it. With the hardware that this phone has to offer, it would have been amazing to have a near stock Android experience on this guy. You were able to take out the battery on the LG V20, which is 3200 mAh, and that makes LG one of the remaining companies that still has a removable battery option on their flagship phones. Battery life overall was decent but not amazing. I was able to get around 1 day and the standby time wasn't impressive, but the fact that you're able to replace it right away with a full battery is a great option to have. The LG V20 has a dual camera setup with a 16 megapixel 75 degree standard angle lens camera and a wide angle 135 degree 8 megapixel camera. And on the front, the camera is 5 megapixels and can capture a 120 degree field of view. Unlike the LG G5, the photos in well-lit situations turn out pretty good, but most cameras should be able to do that, especially if it is a flagship. Even though the wide-angle photos turned out very nicely and it was impressive how much it was able to capture within one frame, in general I was pretty disappointed with the camera of the LG V20. It just didn't do a good job in terms of processing the images when it came to judging the white balance, the exposure, and the images weren't too sharp either, and low light was pretty underwhelming as well. It gives you the option to take manual photos, but in terms of the auto mode, I just wasn't really impressed at all. The front camera's 120 degree field of view makes it very wide and pretty close to the Samsung Galaxy S7's camera, and the images came out decent but nothing impressive. Moving on to the video mode, the LG V20 has improved image stabilization compared to the LG G5. What's really impressive though is the option it gives you in the manual video mode, which is something that you don't find on every phone. Beyond customization of just the video settings, you can also record audio in studio quality. You're able to adjust the audio recording ratio between the front and the back facing speakers, and also customize the low cut filter, the gain, the limiters, and the wind filter as well. But here's just a quick test for you to listen to. Test. Now switching it over to the back facing mic again. But I just wanted to bring you guys a quick video of the LG V20 and the features that make it unique and prominent. Of course, you have the solid all-around hardware and the secondary display, but the audio features make it rather unique in terms of the quad DAC and the recording experience. And when you pair it up with the dual cameras, this makes the phone an absolute powerhouse for what it is, and really the only thing I didn't like about it was the software experience. But as 2017 is just a few days away with CES, I think that would be a good indication as to what technologies we're going to see in phones for the next year. But as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you all in the next one.